There's an easy way to get information on our recent stories or find out about upcoming guests. You can get web addresses or phone numbers we've given, and you can send us your viewer comments. Just go to our website, WQED.org, and click OnQ.
It is loud, it is anti-establishment, and upon hearing it, most parents will immediately tell their children to turn it down. We're talking about punk rock, and believe it or not, Pittsburgh has a thriving punk rock scene. One local stronghold is the Mr. Roboto project in Wilkinsburg. OnQ's arbiter of all things young and hip, Mara McFalls reports.
Punk killed disco in the late 70s, and it has been around ever since. And 4 years ago, a group of Pittsburghers opened up a club called the Mr. Roboto Project. And the way they run it is as punk in philosophy as the music itself.
It's a place in Wilkinsburg where punk bands play, but it's not a typical bar or club. It's a collectively run nonprofit.
One of the things that I think drives Roboto in similar spaces like this is the idea that people can take control of aspects of their life, specifically their entertainment. And the idea behind DIY, do-it-yourself philosophy is getting people involved to be part of the process.
I became involved with the Mr. Roboto project for the same reason that I feel a lot of people do, because of feelings of disaffection and disillusionment with the mainstream day-to-day interactions that they come across. And I think a lot of people view this community as a safe haven from the inundation of mainstream values.
Punk's allure is that it's anti-establishment, anti-authoritarian, and anti-mainstream. It's a message that kids all over the world can relate to.
If somebody doesn't really understand punk and they just think it's just noise and loud,
Right.
what is the deeper sense of, what's the appeal?
I think, for me, myself, there's a lot of appeal to the sort of community ideas that go around, the non-commercial ideas. I think that there's a lack of that in sort of the mainstream media and a lot of even what we read in the newspaper, what we see in magazines, what we see in movies. All of that, there's a very narrow representation of ideas, representation of ideologies, and everything. So I think that something like punk music or something like these activist communities that surround punk music offer a different idea about how the world works.
People at the club express strong political views, but at night, Roboto is about the music.
Mostly it's punk, hardcore, indie rock shows. We have local bands, we have bands from across the United States, we've had bands from Japan, Germany, Sweden, we had a band from Brazil.
All these bands come to play Roboto because, believe it or not, the Pittsburgh punk scene is exploding. I spoke with Art Ettinger. He's a music critic for Punk Planet magazine.
Punk rock is big right now everywhere. It's more mainstream now than it's ever been. I think that within punk rock, certainly everyone knows about Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has a growing reputation as one of the greatest punk scenes in the country. A lot of cities this size have one venue, have one well-known band. Pittsburgh has a dozen venues, a dozen well-known bands.
Roboto helped put Pittsburgh on the map in today's punk world, but punk's been around Pittsburgh since the 70s.
The Electric Banana was very, very important. That was the first really known punk club in Pittsburgh, and touring bands started coming through here.
What made you change from disco to punk? Johnny Banana opened the club on Bigelow Boulevard in Oakland back in the 70s. It started out as a go-go club, then it became a disco joint, then it became the Electric Banana. It was one of the best places in the country to catch a punk show. What kind of punk bands came through?
We had the Goo Goo Dolls, Sepultura, They Might Be Giants, Screaming Trees, Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Cynics, which is a very big local band. They played their first gigs here. A lot of bands got their start here. I used to book all the young kids that were starting out that nobody would book. And because all the club owners in the city were afraid of punk.
So this is the main stage?
This is where the bands used to play.
You can barely recognize it.
We walked through the old club where Johnny used to work the door and his wife Judy bartended. Now it's Zara's Italian restaurant, and still Johnny's on the door and Judy cooks.
We send them downstairs to keep them warm.
We were known all over Europe for the type of music we did. There was CBGB's in New York City, and the Electric Banana were the most well-known venues in Europe.
The Electric Banana closed in 2000, but it cut a path for a new wave of music.
It's not just the Sex Pistols or Green Day, which is what a lot of people seem to think punk is all about, because that's all they see on MTV or whatever. So I think that when you get out and you actually see bands performing and people reacting to that, and you see a lot of the love and energy and passion that's going on behind it, there's a lot more to be attracted to than just some sort of rebellious image.
It's all good-natured fun, but it's mainly an opportunity for kids to, some kids just want an escape, they want to get some energy out, other kids want to bond with other people who have similar ideals.
Come down to Roboto in Wilkinsburg. There are about 20 shows a month, and they sell earplugs at the door, so no excuses.
Well, for more information on the Mr. Roboto project, including the bands and the show times, you can go to our website, WQED.org, and click the OnQ button, which is on the